whispers, my doubts, my clouded feelings, chased away my darkest pain. Inside I feel my spirit rising, emotions mended by a woman's touch, a new future on my horizon.
What up, what up, what up, though? It's your boy, Charlie Lyric, back again. This isn't really even an episode, but I had to do this. Like, consider it bonus content. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what you call it. I personally just had to do this. Simply because, and I'm not doing any readings. I'm not doing any of that. This is going to be very short, very to the point. After last night episode, like I really like sat here, I contemplated, I talked to another spiritualist, and just in the way of like what last night was left with just did not resonate with me. This is so spontaneous, um to the point where I didn't get ready, I didn't try to put nothing together. I literally just turned my light on and decided to get on camera and talk about this because this is kind of a significant thing. Last night, I said that, there's not really a lot of answers for certain things. And I did that out of compassion. But I also at the same time, I did it in a way where I kind of invalidated myself. And I didn't appreciate that with what what I know to be true. The thing is, when it comes to what I do, when it comes to spirituality, and not just the sense of like, talking about our journeys and shadow work and all that jazz. I'm not talking about that part. I'm talking about like the part when it comes into spirit, how spirits are, how spirits work. There are very much people who dedicate their lives, their days, to just simply understanding things that should not have rhyme or reason, or does not have rhyme or reason when it comes to people, when it comes to how reality looks and what reality is, even in the sense of what we all agree upon when it comes to what reality is. No, even though we are all sharing the same experience, every experience is different, every walk is different. And just because we all agree upon certain aspects of reality doesn't necessarily objectively make it that. We can all agree that the sky is blue, but if someone comes along and they see the sky is pink, then that would not resonate with them. So, and it's not because I'm it's see, and that's the thing. That's the reason why in that conversation I took that route, because for me to sit here and fully explain to you what happens and what it looks like, it would not make sense to you. It wouldn't make sense to you because this isn't what you do. And I'm speaking to whomever. Hey, Anthony, I see you down in the audience. Thank you for being here. I'm speaking directly to any people that are taking interest in my work, any people who are watching what I do. Like, this is not an easy thing to explain to everyone else. This isn't something that everyone is going to grasp, especially when you're in a position of mourning a loved one and you come to someone like me, and asking them to bring forward that person, because there's so many different aspects to it, even in the way of when I was having a conversation with the other spiritualist, she was like, did you explain that people who pass in a very traumatic way tend to be angry? Did you explain that people who die in a very dramatic way tend to be locked? They tend to not pass over. There's a lot of, and I didn't explain this on the show because I like to keep that type of talk out of the show. But I'm starting to get to the point of maybe I should start speaking that type of stuff in the show. And it's only because there's a certain level of comfortability. And it's not with me, it's with everyone else. It's with everyone else who's watching what I do. You're fascinated. You're watching for entertainment, really. And you when you take me in, it can be a very exciting experience, and I know that, and I add those factors to what I do. But that is the whole reason why, when you know and you can watch the episodes for yourself, but that's the reason why Olga came to me. I took it off the show because there are certain aspects that the general public is not going to understand. There are certain aspects that my followers are not going to understand. There are certain people within my following that are not going to understand the concepts of what I do. And furthermore, there are practices that I can't place on camera for everyone to see because it's not for everyone to know. What I do is very spiritual, is very sensitive, and to have that type of energy on the show is a sensitive topic in itself. To work with someone like that and to do so in public is already a difficult thing because it's such a sensitive topic for someone in mourning. And it's really, that's when it stops being an entertainment purpose, and that's when it starts being a place of healing. Like, and I like to cultivate these spaces for people to find their healing in. But I really feel like last night the line kind of got blurred because I very much said, certain things can't be explained, certain things can't, but that's not the fact. It's not fact. That's not how it looks. That's not what it is. Nature in itself is a complicated thing. What you call supernatural, I call a science. It's a science that's not explained, and it's a science that's not taken seriously by people, I'll say. Because, if I sat down with, say, I don't know what form of scientist I could say, but if I sit down with a scientist and we start breaking down and start talking about frequencies, and we start talking about how energy works, we start talking about, all these what you would call metaphysics, like, some of those things and some of those theories would get to a place of, well, it doesn't, you can't really put it together, you can't really add it up how that looks and what that is. But the science is still there. And it's really is not black and white. It's really not black and white. um and that's the whole reason why I took the time out to validate her and her experience. Because you hear someone saying they see things and they're feeling things, and you're gonna think, oh, they're making it up because you don't share that experience. But that's the thing. Like, when you say to someone those things are happening and you take that away from them, you're invalidating them, you're debasing them. And that's what I dealt with constantly my entire life. And now that I'm here as an adult and I come across other people who know these things and practice the same things I do, and you know are brave enough to say these things in public, it gets to a point where it can be very much, the wires get crossed things get blurred because it's certain things that people are meant to know, and it's certain things that people aren't meant to know. And it's fair in how it is and what it looks like. I would, if you want to take the time out to learn those things, who am I to stop you? But I also know that everybody isn't made to go that far. Everybody isn't made to know those things. And I'm not saying I'm more special than anybody else. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are people who are made to be carpenters. There are people who are made to be bank workers. There are people who are made to sell houses, just like there are people who are made to be of service to people. Like, there are people put on this earth for certain things and certain purposes. And I just so happen to be one of those people that were made to go into what you would call the supernatural, that goes into the weird. So like, it's not even the fact of like, this isn't something that I experience all the time. It's the fact of I got onto my platform and I said things, and in trying to be soothing and compassionate, I wound up saying some things that truly aren't true. Wow, truly aren't true. Those words that just doesn't resonate with me. I'm not going to sit here and say that there are some things that are just unexplained, because there's many things within our universe that is unexplainable. We just had people who had the mind to be curious enough, to be brave enough to go into insanity to explain these different things. At one point, you know, when gravity was discovered, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I believe it's Galileo. When Galileo discovered gravity, like, you know, people are like, "Oh, you're crazy. Yeah, that's a lie. That's fake." But he proved it, and he was able to prove it, and it was people after him that kept proving it. So you see, the thing that I do, it may be a taboo within a religious sense. It may be whimsical and it may be bewildering because it is a taboo, but and that's because society deems it taboo. Because in reality, it's not taboo. It's old. This is old. This is ancient knowledge. This is knowledge that comes from our ancestors. This is knowledge that is based in spiritual practices that was conceived way before religion ever was. And that's the thing. Like, religion comes with a doctrine when, you know, what I do does not. So, you know, you get to a place where you just learn, and I know that it's all taught behavior. I know it's all taught in the way of, you know, this, if it's this, then it's evil, and if it's that, then it's good. But that's not how life works. It's not that black and white. And we're very much in a time and an age where that's becoming something that's questioned. That is something that is being put under a lens, like what it is and what it looks like. People get afraid of things that they can't explain. People get afraid of things that they don't know. But the thing is, once you learn, then you know, then you have nothing to be afraid of. But, you know, that's why I do this. One, to kind of teach you some things, because what I'm teaching you is basic common knowledge. Like, and it's not common knowledge in a sense, to a general sense, but it's common knowledge with amongst the people that I'm around, and it's common knowledge from by the sense of what I do. It's like the 101, it's basics. And even when I was speaking to this other spiritualist and she said these things, I'm like, I knew that. Why didn't I say that? Because I was trying to be sensitive in the moment, and I was trying to divert the conversation from going into a tricky place, going into a really mixed up place, a place of like, well, you can't say that and you can't do that. And it would have become a debate. And even it was even, you know, she was even saying things in the place of, you know, it's within question that spirits are able to do these things. And even in the way of how she started lighting candles and all these different things, like these are the things that we do. And believe it or not, like even I didn't get to say it because it was such a sensitive space, but lighting a candle, spirits take energy from light, from fire, because they're made of of molecules moving rapidly, and that's a source of energy. And so if something needs energy, you get what I'm saying? I can't break the science down. I don't have the words for it right now. It's been so long since I've even started to put the science to it. So I'm not here to explain how, to explain why. I mostly just want to give comfort. But and I know, like, I'm kind of like, see, this is how upset I am about how this happened. And it's not her fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the fact of I'm so uncomfortable in the way of, like, I'm kind of like double back I'm doubling back on what I said and mixing things up, and then I'm contradicting myself, and I don't mean to. It's just something that I'm really passionate about. And that's the reason why I had an episode at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, because this is actually really significant. Like, there are people out here that do what I do. Some are real and some aren't. Some cannot explain how it is and what it looks like, whereas I can. And there are other people outside of me that can as well. That's not to invalidate anyone. It's not to debase anyone. It's not to berate anyone. It's just simply to say, whereas I could have given information to explain, that wasn't the time to do that. That wasn't the space to do that. I can't sit here and try to explain to a woman who is in mourning how it is that these things are manifesting and doing these different things. It takes a lot of investigation. It takes a lot of divination. It takes a lot of one-on-one time. It takes a lot more than an hour. It takes a lot more than a few days sometimes. Like, I can't put into words. I can't. I just know what I said and validated my own worth, my own experience, and every other spiritualist and everyone who's coming towards this, everyone that's stepping into this space, because it's very much brand new for a lot of people, especially when you get to someone like me who's charismatic, who's very charming, who very much has the ability to put you at ease, to um, disarm you. It can very much look like smoke and mirrors. It can very much sound like snake oil. And that's not what this is. No way, shape, or form. What I do is fake. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much clear right now, because of how many times I've been on the show and I've given a reading and it's been accuracy towards it. The people who watch following up behind the show saying it's accurate, like, I want a reading. So, but that part, that's the part I wasn't ready. That's the part I wasn't ready for the show to express. I wasn't ready for that. Um, and it's not even the fact of that I can't explain. It's not even the fact that I'm not trained. It's not even the fact of it's unexplainable. It's the fact of there's a time and a place for certain things, and this wasn't the time or the place for that. for that type of conversation. The mourning, the healing, the words of encouragement, the inspiring uh, ways of how it is that that conversation had for people who are going through the same thing. Those moments are the moments that I want to be seen. Those are the conversations that I want to be had because this is difficult. This space of coming into spirituality, this space of being able to talk freely, this space of being able to share your experiences is needed, especially in a time like now. It's needed because there are so many people waking up. The world is waking up, and it's that time. Just the other day, I was sitting down and telling an old friend what I do for a living, and he goes, "Why would you do that?" And I go, "Because it's time." I just leave it at that. As far as like the other stuff go, I myself personally have been having a tough time in the transitioning of my grandmother passing. And it's actually another thing that people don't understand. Um, so when something like trauma happens, sometimes they trigger gifts. Sometimes people wake up. Sometimes new things happen and they can't explain these things. That happened to me often in my life. That's when my gifts started to appear. And now that we're here again, like I said before, last night, it not last night, excuse me, I need to restructure that sentence. I've said it before, but I said it again last night that the experience of my grandmother passing really made me lose faith in a lot of things. And I really almost lost faith in myself. I almost got into this hole of just like being in despair and not acknowledging my power and not acknowledging my worth and not being able to be who I am and be the leader that I am and continue on and doing my platforms and doing my work. I got really stuck, and I understand that energy. And even in that, the ancestors, I talk about, I don't talk about the ancestors enough on this show. Even with the ancestors, like you have to have a connection with them. Veneration is important. You have to have your altar up. You have to be burning your candles. You have to keep your water fresh. You have to do all these certain things where I have felt out of my practices. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't connecting. I wasn't tapping in. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I wasn't venerating them. I just got to this point where I got stuck and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't want to work with anybody. I didn't want to be involved in any of my personal relationships in life. I just wanted to be in that state of mourning. I just wanted to be absent of everyone else. And because of that, that shook my connection. So now I'm even me who does this every single day, who does this for a living, even I have to build my way back into that space and reconnecting and rekindling with them because I neglected that energy. I neglected my intuition. I neglected my ancestors. I neglected my practices. So death is like that though. Mourning will do that to you. And that's the reason why I understood exactly where she was coming from. That's why the first time she came onto the show, I did a reading for free. That's why I did all that I've done for her. And this is not me like throwing any shade. This is not me being disgruntled. This is not me doing any of that. This is me simply saying, I'm not going to, first and foremost, I'm going to apologize to my audience because I'm not going to shy away from the unexplainable. I'm going to take the time out to explain it. Two, I'm going to start creating content to talk more about these things instead of leaving it in a space of unexplainable. I'm going to give it 100% what it is and what it looks like. As a spiritualist and as a reader, as a seer, as a practitioner, that just did not sit right with my spirit. It just did not. So I wanted to make that clear to everyone. And then, excuse me. Also, I just really she sat on my mind all night, like she really did, and I sent all my love and my blessings to her. Not my own. I send love and blessings to her actively, praying for her, sending good energy to her, because that's a tough position to be in, and people don't understand how it can feel when you are experiencing phenomenon like that and you're in that space and people are constantly invalidating you, constantly telling you, oh, that's not true, or these can't be. No, like, that's not how that works. And there are people who are in society, who may be hidden in society, might not be in plain sight. You might have to take time to find a person, a genuine, real person who does what I do in order to figure out what it is. And even in the way of, I get taught often, I am a teacher. I'm not going to invalidate myself like that. I am a, I get uncomfortable in saying it, but I am a master. Uh, but these aren't words that I gave to myself. This is not a space that I just one day woke up and be like, I'm going to do this. This is very much like handed to me by my elders saying, this is what you need to do. You should be teaching people. You should be giving readings. You should be in the public spaces doing what you do best because you took the time to learn. And there are going to be more people who need your help. There are going to be more people seeking you out, and you have to be out there for them, ready to receive them and ready to help guide them. But even in that, I'm still a student. And even in that, sometimes I forget things. Sometimes I overlook things. Sometimes I don't do things the way that they should be done. And it's not out of negligence. It's just the basic fact of these spaces are very tough to navigate through at times. And so, in the place of me trying to gather the right words, to give the right energy, to be compassionate and empathetic, like in those moments, sometimes I stop being Charlie. I stop being a spiritualist. I just I just I'm human. I just turn human. And I feel like that's a part of what I do. It's a very significant part of what I do. It's very important to have and to do. But at the same time, I just ask for grace because there's going to be moments where I overlook. And I know people are probably just sitting here like, but Charlie, we didn't say any of that. Like, we don't feel that way about you. And that's fair. But I know. And I'm hypercritical of myself, of what I do. And maybe I should be just giving myself some grace. Maybe I just needed to talk it out. Maybe I just needed to talk it out. So, thank y'all for holding this space for me. But no, seriously, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna work on it. As often I say I'm gonna work on things, and I kind of just keep going the same way with what my content is, and that's just because I'm in a comfortable spot. But I really am gonna dedicate some episodes and some content, even if it's on my other platforms like YouTube, making YouTube shorts or making TikToks, uh, making Instagram reels, even if it looks like that. Like, I'm gonna find a way to give these answers, because personally, it just didn't sit right with me. And also at the same time, I just care, I really care. I cannot express how much I care about the people that give me the time, the people who are paying for my services, my service overall, and just the spaces that I create. I want them to be knowledgeable, personable, and whenever it is that I don't show up the way I'm supposed to, I want to be held accountable and take responsibility and try my best to fix the situation. Um, and just make sure what I'm saying is fact. There is fact. This is not made up. There are facts. It's just not, some of it's just not open, and a lot of it is you have to take the time to understand what it is and what it looks like. So I feel like I feel better. I do feel better. I do feel better. um and we're gonna do that. We're gonna start taking some time out for that. This is not, this show wasn't meant to be, or this episode isn't meant to be, tarot readings or me asking you, do you want a reading or any of that jazz. It's just more so me speaking on what happened last night, um, and validating myself and the people who watch this show who might actually have the knowledge, but also at the same time, just making everyone aware. This is not as black as white as it seemed. It's not. It's really not. Like, it could be a number of things that was happening in that space. But like I said, it takes time and it takes investigation in order to get the answers, and she's looking for answers, and I very much want to give her answers. I don't want to leave her hanging in the wind like that, because that can be very scarring and be very difficult. So yeah. Oh, hold on. Hey Anthony. Hey Anthony, how's it going?
Hey, this won't be. Yeah, how you doing? I just listened to that episode this morning,
Uh-huh.
um, and I was asking that question. I said, why doesn't he tell her the truth? So I did see that you held back,
Mm-hmm.
but I also knew why you held
Mm-hmm.
back. So I guess what I'm saying is, one, I commend you for doing this right now, and two, that was, you know, Charlie, not the hoodoo priest that was saying that. That was hurt Charlie. That was Charlie trying to spare pain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Definitely.
still, I commend you for, because you didn't have to get back on here and say any of it that you just said.
Yeah,
You didn't have to. You decided to do that because it was driving you nuts.
it was. Definitely.
And you know, when I read people, and it took me a long time to get to this point, but I give the message I'm supposed to give, no matter how I feel about it. I've given messages that were 3 words. And I would question myself, well, did I do that right? Did I do that right? It might take me 3 years before I figure out I did it right. That's what I was supposed to do because I can see how it comes out afterwards. So again, I commend you for doing this.
I appreciate that energy. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love you. I'm gonna jump back down.
Love you too, Anthony. Thank you.
All right. All right. You're welcome. See you.
See you. Yeah. And pretty much that's how I felt. Like I needed to say that because you're exactly right. It was driving me crazy. Um, and it's a huge part of it is just two sides of it. One, a little afraid. There's some fear in there. I was going to say a lot of fear. I guess there is a lot of fear around that of how people are going to take me. But I have to remember, that's not up for me to decide. And two, I just have to think about everyone else who does this because the people who really do this, their work shows the proof is in the pudding. But for people who don't do this, like, and they say, I know these things, that that that's gonna invalidate me and them as well, the people who actually do it. So that's why I had to. It was messing with me. I've been thinking about it since I woke up this morning. I mean, I've been thinking about a lot of things since I woke up this morning, but I've been thinking about it since I opened my eyes. I've been thinking about it since I went to sleep. A lot of times after the show, I have a class with my student, but that didn't happen last night. So I had the opportunity to just sit around and play video games. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking and thinking and thinking. And then I have this conversation with another spiritualist who's my girlfriend. She does this too. And like, she's just saying a lot of times, like, I'll be saying stuff and doing stuff, and she'll be like, this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. And she just kind of gives me refreshers. And I'll be like, dang, I forgot that. And that was one of those moments where she expressed something to me. I showed her that part of the show. She was like, that was tough. That was really tough. She's like, not only was that heavy, but I could see where you had difficulty in expressing that. And I said, yeah. And she was like, did you tell her this? And I said, I forgot about that. She said, did you tell her this? I said, well, when I did the reading off show, I thought of that. And then I explained that. And she said, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And then I was like, oh my God, like, these are some of the things I did say, but I didn't actively go into detail about it. And she was like, yeah. And she was like, and I get why you didn't go into detail. Just like you just said, I get why you didn't go into detail. But at the same time, that's some things. It sounds like this and it sounds like that. And it sounds like this should not be happening on the show. It sounds like this should be happening outside of your show. And I said, yeah. And not only that, another friend had hit me up, and my best friend hit me up, and he's just like, yo, it was some deep conversations, bro. He was like, it's a really good show. He was like, but it seemed like that shouldn't have happened on the show. And everybody kind of had the same consensus. Like, it was deep. It was very, very positive, very healing energy, but it's probably not something that should happen on the show. And I said, yeah, I agree. And it's not so much of because, I'm afraid that things will happen, or I'm afraid there gets to a point that I can't explain this, that, and the third. It's just the simple fact of like, I have to remember there's a lot of knowledge that comes from this show. There's a lot of knowledge that is public, and there's a lot of knowledge that isn't public. There's a lot of knowledge where you got to take the time out to dig it. to dig it out and find the truth. And it's not that the truth isn't sitting right in front of you, it's that you're not taking time to find the truth that's sitting right in front of you. But I don't know, it's a weird space. It's a weird space. It's a weird space for me. So I know it's a weird space for everyone else. And it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough energy to sit in. So, yeah, I'm going to just leave it at that. We're going to leave it there. I think I've said enough about it. If you're curious about it, please feel free to go watch the show from, what's today? The show from January 17th. It's up on my YouTube. It's also here on Fireside on the replays. But if you want to watch it for yourself and you are watching on a browser or you don't have Fireside, yeah, I said the same thing. Jesus. Anyway, you can watch it on YouTube. If you're on Twitch or on YouTube right now and you're watching, you can watch back on YouTube. Okay. Have a good rest of the day. We're gonna still have what's today? What did it say? So we're still gonna have our show as planned tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Be here or be square. Anyhow, I'm Charlie Lyric. Asking what's on your heart. I hope it is love. Peace and blessings. Ashe. Thank y'all.